Maya Reed's hand is shaking, and she hates that it's shaking, because shaking hands get people killed. She's pressed against a concrete pillar in an underground parking garage in Seoul, blood on her palm that isn't hers. 3 armed men moving between the cars like this isn't the first time they've done this. A man lies on the ground 20 feet away, not dead, not moving either, somewhere between the two, which is worse than either. A voice bleeds into her earpiece, the translation device she was hired to wear, nothing more than a tool for her job, a piece of equipment she signed a form for. If she understood what he said, kill her first. Mai understood every word. She doesn't move. She doesn't breathe. The mirror shard in her fist is the only thing in the world that feels solid right now. 4 days. That's all it took to go from a routine contract to this. 4 days ago, she was walking through Incheon Airport with a lanyard around her neck and a phone in her hand, reading a text message that made no sense. Do not trust the translation earpiece they give you. A friend. She read it twice, deleted it once, regretted deleting it about 10 seconds later, which is a very Maya thing to do, decide something fast, then immediately interrogate the decision. She told herself it was spam, a scam, the kind of thing that finds you the second your phone connects to a foreign network. She almost believed herself. A driver held up a sign with her name on it in block letters. She walked toward him, and something in her, some old, useful instinct built from years of reading rooms for a living, clocked the way his eyes kept sweeping the terminal instead of settling on the arrivals board like a driver's eyes should. "You're early," he said, first in Korean, low, almost to himself, then switching to careful English like he'd caught his own mistake. "We didn't expect you until later." "I was told too." Of course, a smile, it didn't reach his eyes. Traffic gets bad in the afternoon, lucky timing. She got in the car anyway. What was she going to do? Stand in an airport arguing with a driver about punctuality? But she didn't relax into the seat. She kept her bag on her lap instead of the floor. She watched his hands on the wheel instead of the skyline sliding past the window. Somewhere behind her ribs, a warning was already lit up, and she didn't have words for it yet. She just knew the shape of it. The car merged onto the highway. He didn't speak again for the rest of the drive, and the silence stretched long enough that she started composing questions in her head and discarding every one of them, because a woman traveling alone learns early which questions make a stranger more nervous instead of less. By the time the hotel came into view, she'd convinced herself it was nothing. Jet lag, nerves, a new city playing tricks on a mind that hadn't slept properly in 2 days. She would think about that decision, the deciding to believe herself, many times over the following weeks. The prosecutor's office was cold, in a way that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. Han Jaiwoo was maybe mid-40s, the kind of tired that lives in a person's eyes long after their body has learned to function around it. He slid a folder across the table toward her without ceremony. Inside, shell companies, shipping manifests, a construction conglomerate circled in red ink, Kwon Group. "You're here to translate testimony," Han said. "Nothing more. You listen, you convert language, and the moment you walk out of this building, you forget what you heard." "That's not really how memory works," Maya said. Han didn't smile. "For your sake, make it work that way." A younger investigator sat off to the side, Park, 30s, the kind of eager that hadn't yet been beaten out of him by the job. He leaned forward. "The witness meets us tonight, off the books, if Kwon Group finds out where." "She doesn't need every detail," Han cut in, fast, sharp enough that Park actually flinched. Maya said nothing. She'd learned a long time ago that silence gets you more information than questions do. People fill silence the way water fills a low place, automatically, without thinking about it. Park didn't fill it. He looked at his hands instead. Han did, though, just barely. "It's a security matter, nothing you need to carry." "I've carried worse," Maya said. "I've translated testimony from people who were dead within the week. I know how to hold information I'm not supposed to have." Something moved behind Han's eyes at that. Not comfort, the opposite of comfort, like she'd said something closer to true than she knew. "Good," he said. Then holding it should come naturally tonight. He didn't explain what that meant. Neither did Park. And the tension between the two men in that room wasn't professional friction, the ordinary give and take of people who disagree about strategy. It was something with roots, something old. "Can I ask you something?" Maya said before she could stop herself. Han looked up. "You can ask." "Why me? There are a dozen certified interpreters based in Seoul already. Why fly someone in from another country for a job like this?" The pause that followed was a half-second too long to be comfortable. "Your clearance is clean," Han said finally. "No local ties, no local relationships to compromise. That's valuable in this line of work." "That's a very careful answer," Maya said. "It's the only one you're getting today," Han said, and something in his tone told her that was true, and that pushing further would cost her more than it would earn her. She filed it away. She was good at filing things away. It was, after all, her entire job. Park caught her eye on the way out, just for a second, like he wanted to say something and thought better of it. He didn't, but she noticed the wanting. The restaurant that night sat behind an unmarked door in a quiet part of the city. The kind of place that didn't need a sign, because the people who mattered already knew where it was. Inside, low light. A private room. An informant named Yun, mid-50s, sweating despite the cold air pumping through the vents, sat across a low table from Han and Park. Maya sat slightly apart, headset in, notebook open, doing the thing she'd flown across the world to do. "Ask him about the foundation," Han said. Maya translated. Yun's hands trembled around his teacup. "The money doesn't move through the docks anymore," Yun said, in Korean, and Maya's voice followed his a half-second behind, steady, professional, the way she'd trained herself to be steady no matter what came out of a stranger's mouth. "It moves through the foundation, the scholarship fund. There are children's names on the ledgers." "Living children?" Park asked. Yun's throat worked. "Dead ones. Dead children's names borrowed for the paperwork. Nobody checks. Why would anyone check a scholarship fund for orphans?" Maya's voice caught on the translation, just barely. A half-beat hitch that nobody but her would ever notice. She pushed through it, because that's the job. You don't get to have a reaction to what people tell you. You only get to carry it accurately to the next person. "There's a name in the fourth column," Yun continued, sliding a flash drive across the table, hand shaking harder now. "One name that shouldn't be there. Someone inside The door slid open. 3 men, black tactical gear. Guns already raised, already level, already meaning it. "Everyone down, now." Yun didn't go down. Yun bolted for the door, and Yun didn't make it, and the sound that followed was not one Maya would forget for a long time, if ever. Park had a weapon in his hand, a weapon he had no legal or professional reason to be carrying into an off-the-books meeting, a detail that would matter enormously later, and that nobody had time to notice mattering right now. Han grabbed Maya and shoved her under the table like that would be enough, like a wooden tabletop could stop what was coming through that door. And then a 4th man walked in. He didn't rush, he didn't duck, he didn't reach for a weapon because he apparently didn't need one. He walked directly into the crossfire like the bullets were a weather pattern he'd already decided not to acknowledge, and he crouched, unhurried, to pick something up off the floor. The flash drive. Yun's flash drive. One of the gunmen